Okay, everybody, welcome back to B2B NAV. And this week we are touching on what I would say is a topic relevant to the new year. So I've termed it New Year, New Failure. So why have we learned to accept failure as part of our lives? So obviously we can take this a lot broader than marketing. But I guess to start with, let's tie it back to what we do best, being the world of marketing communications, and in creative, in broader marketing campaigns, in digital campaigns. It feels like 2019 has been the year when people are talking more about ROI, people are talking more about KPIs, people are talking more about making marketing accountable. Let's start there. What do you think of that as a topic? Do you think that's something you've seen in your work?
You see it everywhere, but I suppose it's people aren't really realistic about it, are they? Okay. That's probably the start point.
Yeah.
So you look at it and you go, okay, I'm at the beginning of the year and I'm going to set these goals for myself.
Yeah.
With absolutely no sort of acknowledgement of the previous 12 months, trends in the marketplace, movement within the kind of economic world, and you go, okay, you set these, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So I suppose it's flawed from the start, in that people set goals to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
You know, we all know people in the world, you know, they'll say, oh, I can sell you 9,000 of them, like that.
Yeah.
And it's to just get the headline figure and make you look good in front of someone. Whereas actually it's more valuable to go, well, I'm going to sell 5 of them. But I'm going to sell 5 of them to absolutely the right person that's going to buy them, and going to buy them off you for the rest of their living days.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't see that a lot. And you get people, Ollie will know this really well, you get people who are just like glamoured by impressions.
Yeah. Well, I think what you've just said there, part of the issue or challenge is that requires somebody to really sit down and think things out in quite a lot of detail before they start, in terms of who they're wanting to approach, how they're wanting to approach, and things like that. And if you don't do that, then you're just really setting yourself up for failure, because you can just go, we're doing this campaign, we want 50 leads, but you're not really thinking through the detail of how you're going to achieve that. And if you've not got reasoning behind it, it's going to make it a lot harder to achieve, and then you've got your failure right there. Do
you think there's an element of, because you're so busy finishing off a year, and not all campaigns are running for a year, obviously, but in the sense of, I'll always tie it back to the financial side of the market, and when you're setting your financial budgets, and no matter what your year end falls in the financial world, you're so busy finalising your budgets for the next year, your year end performance, what metrics you've actually hit, that you're already into the new campaign in a way before you really got to grips with what the performance was and what the KPI
is. And I've been told I'm not allowed to swear, so it's going to be different. But it's the 7 Ps.
Okay.
Of which 2 of them I'm not allowed to say. But it's about poor planning promoting poor performance.
Yep.
And I think that's where it all comes from. And you're right. At the end of the year, everyone's running to the winning post, aren't they? Or even if it's not just to get over the finish line.
Off to the bar of a break.
And somehow just get through the year and live to fight another day. And they don't start the planning process early enough, and they don't start it with a view to contextualising what they've done. So everything is a rush, and everything does get kind of...
But how early... And it's difficult because all campaigns run different lengths, as I say. But if it's an annual kind of Marcom's plan, year-long programme, what's the recommendation of when you should be thinking about that planning process?
The ideal.
When have you got enough information on what you've done in the run-up to it to inform the next period?
Probably the ideal, and this is controversial, is to go down the MVP route. And that sort of sprint mentality of nothing in this world, nothing's perfect.
Yep.
And, and if people wait for perfection, it's never going to arrive, and you just procrastinate, you're navel gazing forever.
Yeah.
But if people are brave enough to go, you know what, I'm going to go with this, it's 80% right.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll run with it, and I'll let the cards fall where they will, and I'll learn from that, and then I'll move on, and I'll iterate over the course of 12 months. And actually, what you shouldn't have is annual planning. You should have you should start, and you should never stop.
Because then if you're doing the annual planning route, you can't really roll with the punches, can you?
You're
what you're doing in December, but you don't know what's going to come up with the next year for your business. You could get bought, you could buy someone, you could launch a new product that you don't always know is going to happen.
I mean, time stamping today's podcast in 2 days, it's a general election. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Let's talk about failure.
That's a tough one to call. But you just don't know what's going to happen the other side of Thursday.
No.
So how can you possibly have created an annual plan to account for all of the ups and downs?
That's what always used to entertain me in the financial world, though, where people would set a 5-year or a 7-year or a 9-year or a 10-year business plan. And then, I've worked across a lot of sectors. I've worked with a lot of different businesses. You can do 12 months, I would imagine, pretty granular.
But do you mean plan or ambition? Because they're two different things.
Well, I think you can sit there and say, I want to double the size of my business in 10 years, but there's no way you can granularly tell me.
You can't roadmap that.
No, but people do. And I've seen business plans this big in lovely spiral bound folders that then go missing in people's boots, and they're never referred to again.
You've got like 6 to 12 months of stuff that's potentially useful, then everything after that.
You'd have that first board meeting of the year where everybody's confident with the results and they get the folders out and they're marking it up, and then board meeting 2.
Well, it's the first time there's a bump in the road, isn't it? The moment that it goes off the story, you're like, well, what do we do? This is our novel.
Well, I think most people tend to lift the rug and sweep it under, don't they? Though, and just ignore it. I mean, that's my take on it. That's genuinely what you tend to see more and more in the business world, and you see it in marketing as well, in the sense of people glossing past. And creatively is an interesting one, because I've noticed that more and more over the last few years working with yourself, that clients and prospects and contacts start with such a big, bold ambition creatively. And where that lands is quite often
bias, doesn't it?
Nowhere near it, is it?
Reality, real world pressures, actually delivering something.
Sure.
Not being prepared to invest in focus groups. That is one of the big things that kills it. Is you'll get an idea. 9 times out of 10, it'll probably be a combination of client and agency coming together, thinking things through, being pretty confident about it, but not validating, or not validating to the point where they know, yes, that's got the ability to work and kind of resonate in all
the focus groups. Is that speed or stubbornness that's preventing people doing that?
I think it's cost.
Yeah, cost. Okay.
I mean, if I could say to any client, we can run this for a focus group of 20 of your number one, like your top 20 prospects.
Yeah.
I've got access to the key personas and buyers in each of those businesses, and I can run this creative by them.
Yeah.
Absolutely objectively before we run it. Would you like to do it?
Yeah.
They'll all say yes. And I'll say, that's going to cost you £10,000. And they'll go, you're all right.
I think the same thing applies to other forms of user research as well. Like if you're thinking about websites and carrying out research there before you do it, or even during the process, you can go down that kind of agile methodology where you're kind of doing, let's say, a month of work at a time, where you design, build something, put it in front of people, get them to test it, and then refine it. But that all adds costs to a project.
Yeah.
And I'd say most companies aren't willing to invest unless it's something particularly critical. So I imagine that's the approach Amazon or something like that's going to take.
But they're built on that. But they don't, most clients at the moment, I don't think view, whether they say it or not, they don't view marketing as an OPEX that's ongoing and should be seen over a year. They go, I've got my marketing, I've got my budget, it's CapEx mentally, not in reality, don't worry.
No, don't worry. I know the accounting stand as well, yeah.
But what they do is they then look at it in that way, and they don't see it as an ongoing investment. They see it as a pot that I need a thing, and I need to get those things. Once I've got those things.
I don't think many clients or prospects are of a level yet to embrace that sprint, scrum, agile, whatever you want to refer to it as. And it was interesting at the conference you're at with the global networks that we are associated with, and there was an agency there that's tried this with clients, basically helping them overcome one problem or one key question that they wanted to get through. Do you remember the conversation?
Yeah, I do.
And the key thing for me was, did it work or not? Because I was trying to think about it for us, because it's something you could embed or trial or whatever. And the cost was sort of €40,000 for a 1-week intense workshop off-site, which immediately made me go, so it's serious books, you've got to have somebody who's pretty committed to this. Plus, it was one question, and anything that deviated from that question, they boarded up, didn't they? And they was focused on this one area. But it also left the agency team in
tatters.
In tatters was the word I was going to use. I was trying to think of a more international word, but yeah, exactly that. In absolute disarray, because they were working 24-hour days for 5 days virtually to get this output done. And I still question, even with that, do you get the right output by rushing that creative process?
What you get is you get an output, and it might be that what you need is that to then, because I don't think that project we spoke to the guys about, I don't see that wasn't the end of the road. we've got this incredibly gnarly problem.
I think they saw it as a door
We've
opener,
got
the
to
agents,
throw-
didn't they? They saw it as a door opener, because anything else that came up in conversation, they'd be like, oh, we'll come back to that one, we'll come back to that one.
Sideline that. But it was like, we've got to a point now, so this problem they hadn't been able to solve via traditional, inverted commas, agency methods.
Yeah.
Be that a pitch or the incumbent or whatever. And while what they've got, I doubt very much will ever see the light of day.
Yeah.
It's that catalyst point that will then allow them to solve the problem.
Coming back to what you said about the MVP thing, isn't it, really? Which is, don't be afraid to kind of go with something and then embrace the fact that it might not be the final solution, but that it's better than what you had before. Or
Is
what you
it
didn't
worth
have
just
before.
saying for anybody that's listening out there what an MVP is? Because I'm constantly throw acronyms around all the time and put some people going, what?
So MVP being a minimal viable product. So if we think about it from
Windows.
as I'm digital, I'm going to go with a website. Sorry,
Windows.
So you might cut out some of the functionality that isn't critical for your first version, and you'll go with the functionality that is critical, and you'll add on the other stuff later if it's
Or
needed.
the functionality you want to charge for later.
And, that same kind of context can apply to a test and learn digital campaign, optimizing a campaign as it goes, A/B testing things creatively. A logo won't be the final logo.
No, absolutely not. Focus groups, all that kind of stuff.
And content, I suppose, 'cause even looking at ourselves, what we've done with our content so far, we've probably had 3 or 4 even thumbnails on the podcast. I've had a couple of different names for it. The important thing is that we're doing it.
And it's hopefully improving every time we do it.
No,
If we just sat down at the beginning and thought, what is the perfect format? What other podcasts are out there? Let's go look at Joe Rogan. How's he doing his podcast? And we tried to emulate that, would have never got started.
We'd still be sat here procrastinating over what the thumbnail should be, what we should do. And I think that's probably one of our biggest learnings this year. And it took me a while to get through it, that you can't have that perfectionist approach to content.
Especially with like the stuff like that, you're comparing yourself to, let's say it was Joe Rogan, you're comparing yourself to somebody who's effectively the number 1 on the planet for podcasting, or certainly up there. And he didn't get there overnight.
No.
He's got a whole kind of a journey that he went on.
I was going to say, and also the depth of the team. I was going to say, who are actually producing it. But the important thing is, one, that you do it. So we said at the beginning of the year, we'd do so many podcasts, we'd produce so many knowledge editions. And we're doing it, but we're doing it because we've held ourselves accountable to that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the reasons why things fail, I heard a great quote. I said this to Ollie earlier off camera, but in the sense, I heard a great quote the other day that was, the adult equivalent of the dog ate my homework is I've been busy. And I think that's true. I think that's really true, because if you ask somebody in our place, in work, outside of work, why haven't you been to the gym? Too busy. Why haven't you been for that run you said you were going to go on? I've been too busy. Why are you eating badly? I've been too busy. And it is that kind of, it's just accepted that being busy, but then prioritization, where are you focusing your efforts? If you started the year saying it was critical you did these things, then hold yourself accountable to them. And I just hate excuses, because you've got to do it. And if you're not doing it, you're definitely not going to get to where you want to get to, are you?
There's no doubt that we're all adults and we're all busy. So to some extent, you don't have a lot of time where you're sat doing nothing. So you're always busy, but it depends what you're busy doing. I like playing games. So sometimes at night I'm busy playing games.
That's fine if you unwind doing that. But I think
it's what we were talking about before, is it comes down to prioritization. And like you say, if something's critical and this is something you should be doing, make sure you're doing it. And if there's a reason that you can't, or there's something else that's more important and is genuinely more important, then obviously you need to rework things and figure out how you can get both of them done, or figure out who can support you with other areas. But I think the key thing is making sure you're really prioritizing things, because I'm sure everybody finds it at some point or another. You're doing something that you think's important, but it's definitely not more important than the other things that you said you were going to do. You've just found yourself kind of doing that thing that you feel like doing, or is easy to do at the time, or somebody's asked you for, but is not necessarily the thing that you should be working on.
Yeah, that's that kind of ability to distract. Everyone is easily distracted if they want to be, can't.
I listened to another podcast on that the other day, which is all about attraction and distraction. And I'd never thought about it like this till they actually described it, but in the sense of attraction, obviously something's pulling you in. Distraction is pulling you away from something you want to focus on. And until you actually break it down like that, I thought it's such a basic point. But you actually think, these things aren't more important. They're literally just getting my attention and pulling me away from it.
So it's human nature. What they will tend to be is easy.
Easier. You sit there with my mouth.
And that's, it's an easy path to go off over here and do something. It's an easy path to go and do something that you kind of know and you've done 100 times.
Yeah.
Whereas that whole thing about, when we started January this year, I'm going to do X many podcasts, we're going to create a knowledge hub, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's like, it's difficult.
It's really hard to do it.
It's all hard stuff. And the fear of failure is probably a stronger distraction than or kind of thing to put people off than anything else.
I always think if you say it out loud and you tell other people, you'll do it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's always been my thing with the team here. I will stand up in front of a team meeting here and say we're going to do something, and I don't want the embarrassment of standing up in 6 or 12 months' time and going, we haven't achieved that, or we haven't done it.
I don't. This is obviously isn't the real definition, but like I remember years ago hearing the phrase or saying, "Trust is doing what you said you were going to do." Yeah. So when you don't do whatever you said you were going to do, you're kind of lowering your estimation in somebody else's eyes, whether it's a little or a lot.
Yeah. I think that's, even one of our values being execution matters. It shows here that is one of our mantras that we bang home about, because sometimes there is a lack of differentiation in marketing agencies that you go to, but a big part of it is doing what you say you'll do, managing expectations, setting the KPIs accordingly at the start of what you can and can't achieve with the client. Because I think you see it sometimes on digital campaigns, don't you, where maybe not mismanaged expectations, but you've got to be carefully manage the client's expectations of what they think they'll get off a paid campaign.
I think what I'd say we've seen in that regard in the past is more that there haven't been expectations set or not clearly set enough. So we'll have finished a campaign where we might have generated, let's say, for example, 20 leads, and we'll think that's performed well based on the ad spend, but the client don't necessarily have that same perception. And
that's communication, isn't it?
It comes down to setting that in
We've also seen it where click-through rates and things like that, though, in terms of a campaign, has generated what is considered acceptable or good results even. And you sat there with a client who goes, well, no, Bob down the golf club told me he got 25% click-through rate or whatever. And you sat there going, well, Bob down the golf club probably doesn't know what he's doing, or probably isn't running campaigns of your scale or size.
Bob down the golf club has probably got 400 10-year-olds from China clicking on his site. You know what I mean? It's like targeting, targeting, doing it properly.
So we obviously don't always know the answer of what we're going to do before it, but we have to do our best to estimate it and predict it so that when we're going into it, we can see if we're on track or not, and if we're not on track, what can we do better?
So is that I've always found this quite interesting, is it our responsibility to meet the client expectation? Or is it their responsibility to know their market?
I think it's our responsibility, or the advisor's responsibility, or the partner, or the agency, or no matter what your sector in, it's your responsibility to manage the client's expectations. Because in a world of corporate finance, you can meet 6-7 different corporate financiers that will say they can sell your business. Whether they can sell it is a totally different thing anyway. Yeah. But then also what they're going to sell it for is two totally different things. It comes into a bidding war between corporate finance providers who go, I'll sell it for 40 million. I've been sat in meetings with people and you sat there going, there's no way you can sell it for 40 million. But then there's this 40 million expectation set from the start just to win the work. And then you have to talk them off the ledge and say, it's probably 35, it's probably 30, it's probably 25. And they've still got this 40 number in their head.
Because they've heard it.
And
that happened with the owners of the business we MBO'd off it, because somebody at some point had told them they could sell it for a number, and they couldn't. Like, it doesn't. That's not the way you value businesses. It's not the value you'd buy a business for. So, but that management of expectation, careful management.
That's probably how you hold yourself. Is set your own goals realistically. So. Well, we said we'll do podcasts and we'll continue to deliver knowledge and content over the year. We didn't give ourselves unrealistic kind of goals. We were kind of like, it's kind of frightening. And
if I remember correctly, I think we set the ambition of doing one podcast a month, which I believe.
And I think we're up on that, so we're good.
Yeah, I think we've smashed through that, to be honest.
Yeah,
but the key thing is I think from the beginning we thought we could probably do more, but we didn't commit to doing more because
we didn't know.
But we also didn't know how long things take. We didn't know how long it'd take to get through all the kind of process behind it. And I think it's baby steps, isn't it? It's baby
the same thing applies when we're doing campaigns and work for people. Is that we
should apply exactly the same rules. So, some of these things are new. It's new technology, like particularly the area you're in. We're sat with new technology. Whether it's Drift, whether it's Showpad, whether it's another SaaS solution, and they're moving so fast. How can we possibly sit? And I've been in presentations where people selling these things will promise you, how can you sit and promise the earth when it's moving so fast? So you have to kind of we're going to get there. It's bold, it's brave, it's scary, but you've got to kind of just jump in and go along, and you've got to be in it and committed to it. A lot of the problems come when people go, I want to try marketing automation. You want to try it. You can't try it.
Yeah.
You either do it or you don't. I want to try using a CRM
I feel like you're
system.
one step from quoting Yoda.
Yeah. I know. You've put me there. So it's like, you can't try any of these things. Do or do not.
Yeah, but we have that. We have that with our own tech stack and new things that we try. And unless you really, really commit and throw weight behind it and accept it's going to be a learning curve for every single person involved in it, I agree. There's no point in you even kicking off these things, because really all you're doing is just spending money, and you could be investing in as part of the business.
For the badge and not the actual result. I mean, I'm not into self-help books particularly, but there's one from donkeys ago called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
It's like that sort of thing. You've just got to...
It is.
If you're going to do it, even if it's scary, jump and go. And
well, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to go through a period of being uncomfortable, but hopefully you come out the other side better, don't you? And I suppose that's the whole mentality with going to the gym in the new year. Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for those first few weeks once the novelty wears off and grinding through it. And there's the rule there, isn't there? Once you've done something in 12 weeks, it's a habit or something.
Young lads in the business earlier, and he was saying exactly the same thing. It's really hard to commit to doing the same thing every day, and he's going out running.
Yeah.
And he's doing it, but it's a tough slog.
Yeah, but the guys who are doing that in the team, this 5K a day in December thing or whatever it is, that
Mental.
But the people that are doing it are not saying they're too busy to do it. They're going out at 5 in the morning to get it done, or they're going out at 10 at night and doing the run. So, when I sit there at home and say I'm too busy, I've got kids and I've got a job and I own a business and I just haven't got time. It's rubbish, really.
There's time in there, but you find it's back to distraction, isn't it?
Well, distraction, mainly, probably distracted writing something else on my laptop normally. But that's an excuse. It is an excuse as to why you're not out there running on the streets or pounding the pavement or whatever the rule may be. Okay, so it feels like a natural place to break. What are we thinking in terms of top takeaways? I'll go for you first, Ollie.
Oh, nice and easy slot. I think just set clear expectations at the beginning, whatever it is, and make sure that you keep up with it. Whether that's that you want to put out a piece of content a month, whether that's that you want to go to the gym 3 times a week, or whether that's you want to get X results from a campaign. Just make sure you understand what those expectations are and keep going. And I suppose just if you don't manage to hit them all, don't stop. Just keep going and try and get back up there, or realign those expectations slightly if you need to. If you're hitting twice a week at the gym, that's better than not going at all. And just keep moving from there.
John?
I'd say look at it as a journey, not, people view campaigns as little quick trips, like from A to B. And it isn't. The whole lifespan of a product or a business or a service is a campaign.
Yeah.
And you should think about it in that way and continually just build on what you're doing. Don't go, year 1, we're going to do that. Now we've done that, we'll forget about that and we'll do something totally different here and we'll crack on. And it didn't work, or people didn't get it, or we've not built on anything. Why not? Because you haven't kind of iteratively approached it. Maybe just embrace a bit more of a Scrum mentality about stuff and think, well, I can, it's not that good enough is good enough, it isn't. But what good enough does do is it gives you a platform to understand what works and what doesn't.
Gets you started, doesn't it?
And gets you on the journey.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
It was not.
It wasn't. I think mine would be to keep your objectives front and centre. And by that, I mean doing a big glossy business plan that does get lost in the boot or lost in a filing cabinet or whatever. Great. You need to do that business plan. You need that granularity. But whatever, I think one of the best things we've done is the whiteboard in the boardroom, where we've got everything on there that we want to achieve. And there's a reason why certain aspects haven't been scrubbed off it in 12 months. There's a reason why it's on my laptop as my screensaver, because you're sad. So when you sat there and you are getting distracted, being pulled back in and attracted back to the focus of where you started off, I think is pretty key as well. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that episode. Thanks very much for watching and listening, depending on what platform you're on. Please don't forget to check out www.b2bknowledge.com for our free online content hub and publication, helping our clients, prospects and contacts navigate the ever-evolving B2B marketing landscape. See you next week. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, bye.